Hey guys, it's Bailey from Making It from the Midwest, and this is going to be a quick review of both the CoverGirl TruBlend FixStick, the concealer, as well as the new foundation that has come out recently. So if you want to see my thoughts on these products, continue watching. First, I want to talk about the TruBlend FixStick, which is the automatic concealer pencil. Mine is in the shade Fair, and this retails for about $8 to $9. I think there are maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 shades of this. They don't go very deep though, which is one immediate downside. I, however, got the right shade with Fair. It is light enough so that it doesn't match my skin tone, so it's not necessarily an all-over concealer, but it does brighten up my under eye area. Now, this is very similar to L'Oreal's Super Blendable Concealer Stick that they came out with nearly a year ago, but the one thing I didn't like about that was that it didn't stay on me. It was very smooth, creamy, blendable. I love the packaging. Like, everything was a good idea, but it just didn't stay on me in my under eye area, on my face, nothing. So I was hoping that this would change things up and actually do the trick. As it turns out, it does. Like I said before, I can't really apply it to my face because it is a little too light, but I applied it in a triangle shape to my under eye area today, as well as around my nose and underneath my chin, really anywhere that I want a little bit of concealing in addition to highlighting, and it worked wonders at not only concealing a little, well, any blemishes I might have had, but also any minor discoloration. I would say it has somewhat medium to full coverage. It's definitely not light and it has a thicker consistency, but I didn't notice needing any additional concealing on top of it. And another thing to be said about the consistency is that even though it is on the thicker side to provide that heavier coverage, it doesn't get cakey, fall into fine lines and creases or any of that stuff that I noticed. I applied it once this morning and then again right before filming now, and even layered over a day's worth of makeup, it still looks very fresh and not sinking into fine lines, which is something great to be said of a concealer with a thicker consistency. The packaging itself is really nice. It has a sleek plastic exterior, and the little knob down here at the bottom rotates smoothly, so you don't have to struggle getting it up and down. Pretty much to be expected. The only other downside I really spotted with this, aside from the lack of upper range when it comes to shades, is the scent. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, but I personally thought it had a very strong makeup-y smell. Like when you open an older foundation, that's kind of what it smells like when it's fresh out of the packaging. And it doesn't linger throughout the day, but I definitely noticed it being distinct as I applied it. And I'm not one that's typically sensitive to scents. This, however, stuck out to me. So if you're not a scents person, you don't like scents on your face or something that smells strongly, whatever it is, you might want to rethink this, but in every other way, I really like the way this performed, and I much prefer it over the L'Oreal Crayon Concealer. Now let's talk about the TruBlend foundation, which is actually similarly priced to the concealer, which I think is relatively affordable. I don't know if that says it's a cheap foundation or if it's an expensive concealer, but I do think it's a good deal. Either way, this is in the shade L6 or Light 6. It's separated into 3 different shade brackets, light, medium, and dark. And although there are a lot of new shades with this range, they don't go nearly as deep. They are a little bit more impressive than the concealer range, but still not, they wouldn't suit, I don't think, the deepest skin tones out there, unfortunately. There aren't really any claims when it comes to the kind of coverage, lasting power, or wear this is going to provide. So what I would say is that it's about upper medium range. I wouldn't say it's completely full coverage, but it certainly gets up there, and it's definitely buildable, which I love in a foundation, that I can either wear it as a light layer for a very natural look, or I can layer it up so I have a little bit of more versatility with it. It comes in a pump packaging, which I love. It's nice and sanitary, and it also has a swivel top that you can open and close the pump with, which is great for travel. And something I found with the shade that I chose, L6, or Buff Beige is the actual name of the shade, is that it matches my skin tone exactly, which I was a little nervous about because typically the experience that I've had with CoverGirl foundations is that they oxidize, not a lot, but a noticeable amount to where I always buy about a shade lighter, and that didn't happen at all with this, which I loved. It did take a little bit of time to finally set and dry to a somewhat powdery finish, but after it did, there was no oxidation. Once it is set, the consistency is really nice for layering powder, cream, and liquid products over. I wore all 3 at once in one day when I was testing this out, and it stayed well enough all day to where the products that I placed over top did not get patchy, didn't budge, didn't move all day, even when left unset by a powder, which I was really impressed with. I didn't develop any T-zone shine. However, it is bitterly cold where I live right now, and so I wasn't really expecting to. However, I have had foundations where in the winter they dry my skin out so much that my skin starts overproducing oil to compensate for it, and so I even then will still get an oily T-zone. So I suppose that still does say something about this formula, that it's not drying, yet it's not overly oily or shine producing. And at the end of 8 hours, I was impressed, like I said, not only to see the products I placed over top of it were still intact and not patchy at all, but that I still had full coverage everywhere where I applied it. T-zone, cheeks, chin, everywhere that might get a little weathered, even in the winter along the jawline, especially with scarves, it was still completely intact at the end of 8 hours, and even 12 when I checked after that. So I was very impressed with that, especially, as I said before, with the price. And overall, I recommend both of these new products from CoverGirl, well, both for different reasons, but I especially like the concealer because it has all of the right properties that I liked in the L'Oreal, but actually stays for me all day. And this because it's a really good layerable foundation, so it provides a little bit of versatility. It doesn't oxidize, it stays in place. I would like to test it in the summer or when it is a little more hot to see that it really doesn't budge. I do have to say I'm still impressed with my combination skin, that it stayed where it did all day long. So those are my thoughts on these products. I hope this wasn't a super long review, but thank you guys so much for watching. I hope it helped. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!